Hi everyone, welcome back to Ebooks. I'm Ellie and today it is time for my end of October wrap up. A couple of things that I wanted to mention before we get into the wrap up itself. I have decided to use this location as my wrap up spot because I have more room to put the books that I've read. I have a desk that you're sitting on, so I can put them there, and then once I finish talking about them, I have a bookshelf that I can place them on so that you can see them. So yes, that's what I'm thinking. I may end up also doing TBRs here and possibly hauls. I haven't really decided, but I will be using my regular spot for most of my videos. So there's that. I also wanted to mention that in the last part, in the mid-month wrap-up, I forgot to mention a book. So I'm going to start off with that one and then we will get into the rest of them. I read 18 books in total this month and let's just get into them. So the one that I forgot to mention last time was an audiobook called Shit Actually by Lindy West. I had this from Libro FM. I'm really not an audiobook listener. I really struggle with listening to audiobooks. I think it's because I just have this thing where I just can't relax and I feel like I have to be doing something. I used to listen to audiobooks a lot when I was on the train and things like that, and obviously still not going anywhere, so yes. But I really liked this one. I gave it 4 stars. This is kind of like a discussion review on different movies. There are some really good ones in there. It talks about Love Actually as the title, and I actually really enjoyed the movies I hadn't seen. I found those for the most part funnier than the ones I had seen. Possibly because the ones I had seen were some of my favorite movies, and you know, it's funny to listen to them, but at the same time it's some of those movies kind of had sentimental meanings for me, as stupid as it sounds. Terminator is one of those for me because it's a movie that I watched with my dad, and you know, obviously that's a good memory to have, and you know, we've probably watched it 20 times together, and we'll probably watch it another 20 times in the next year. But you know, anyway, it was a good book, enjoyed it. Let's move on to the physical ones, and a couple of ebooks that I have. So started off the month, or ended last month, with Julia Quinn. So I was in the historical romance mood and I picked up Devil's Bride by Stephanie Lawrence. This is technically the first book in the Sinister series, but A Promise in a Kiss, which is a full-size novel, is considered 0.5. So I read that one earlier this year and finally picked this one up. I've kind of made myself a promise that I will try and catch up with some of my romance books, which are all here. And if I do that, I will let myself buy a couple of the last books that I need in series, or in some cases like this, I have a couple of books in this series, but I would like to get the rest of them. So if I catch up with my romance books, I will let myself do that at the end of November. So I have a time frame, and I also kind of have a list of ones that I'd like to get to. So that one, really enjoyed it. Next up, I read a couple of ebooks. I got a Kindle this month while it was Prime Day. I already have an e-reader. I have a Kobo, but you can't put your Kindle books on it, and the only thing I can read my Kindle books on was my phone, and I hate that because they're so small, like it's your phone or your laptop, and yeah, so I bought a Kindle. It's actually been really good. I have been reading a couple of books off Kindle Unlimited. I will talk about some more that I'm hopefully going to read in December, because November is already chock full of books. But the ones I read in October were Capturing the Bride by Samantha Holt. So I did a little post that's going to be out next week on my blog, where my best friend Angel picked a couple of romance books for me. I picked a couple for her. We did this at the start of the year in more of a general sense, where we didn't pick romance books. So we kind of had the two going at the same time. This was one of the ones she picked for me. This was just Regency historical romance. Gave this one 3 stars. It was alright. It was just kind of missing that spark for me, and felt a bit like there wasn't really anything different to all the other historical romances I've read. And I don't always mind that. Like, it wasn't a bad book. But I didn't enjoy the characters enough to love it. And the other one I read was very out of my comfort zone, which was kind of the purpose of Angel and I doing this little project, which was Pestilence by Laura Thalassa, I think is how you say it. This is like a post-apocalyptic romance. If this was YA, I would gobble it up, and I probably would have owned it for years and had read it, and it would be one of my favourite books. But because this was romance, I was a little bit more apprehensive about it, and it had kind of been on my radar for a while, but I didn't really pick it up. And then Angel put it on this list, so I did, and I loved it. It was maybe not the best book to read during, at that time still being in lockdown. Here in Melbourne, we are slowly coming out of our lockdown, and anyway, it is about a plague, so that was, but aside from that, it was a really interesting book, and I really liked it, and I really loved Laura Thalassa's writing. It was very easy to read, and it didn't feel like I was out of my comfort zone. I felt like I was just reading something that I would be reading no matter what. So I have the next 2 books in that series. It's called the 4 Horsemen series. It's about the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So I will be continuing that series, I want to say in November, but I've got so much to read and do in November, so it might not happen. But they're on there. They're all on Kindle Unlimited if you're interested. And then we jump back into my books. So these 2. I read some Jane Austen. Northanger Abbey, Mansfield Park. 4th time reading this, 1st time reading this. One of my favourite books of all time. My 2nd favourite Austen, even though it is my most read book as an adult. It just kind of happened that way. Mr. Henry Tilney is my absolute favourite literary character, so there's that. But Persuasion is my top one. Yeah, anyway, love this one. Favourite, yeah, cool. Hated this. Absolutely hated this. This was my 4th Austen, so the only ones I'm missing are Emma and Sense and Sensibility, which I'm hoping to read very soon this year. And I think I'm already going to call this as my least favourite. I just really hated everyone in this. Everyone was like, even the ones like I kind of liked the Crawfords, but then obviously, no one is a good person in this, and the people that are, like Fanny and Edmund, have no backbone, and so I didn't like this. I did not like this at all. Gave this one 2 stars. Usually if I gave a book 2 stars, I would get rid of it, but I want to keep this to match the rest of my collection, because it would look stupid if I owned 5 Austens all in the same collection and then just no Mansfield Park. So it's staying, and I think maybe in a few years I'll reread it and see what I think. But yeah, not for me at this particular stage. We'll see. So then we completely turned it around, and this is one of my favourite books of the year, I think. This is Below Deck by Sophie Hardcastle, one of the most stunning books. I don't know how well you can kind of see it because of the light, but it's like a dark blue and black on the background, and then obviously you can see the gold. This is a Aussie literary fiction, which is really the only type of literary fiction I read or enjoy. This mostly takes place at sea. There's a trip to Antarctica in there. It's a lot. There's also some sort of I guess like Me Too discussion in there a little bit, and lots, it just incredible. Made me sob. Did not expect it to, like, I was expecting maybe like a few tears here and there, but it was like you know those like heaving sobs. It was that. And yeah, it was beautiful. I will be gutted if this does not make the Stellar 2021. I'm going to say it now, and I'm probably going to end up gutted because nothing I want ever ends up on the long list. But I want this to. I want this to so bad. Then read something a little bit happier, kind of. This is Here in the Real World by Sarah Pennybacker. I had this on hold. I had this from the library, and then it got nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm not really paying attention to them because it is, in my opinion, very much just a popularity contest rather than a actual discussion on what books have been good in a year. But I am kind of reading the ones that are on my shelves already. And yeah, I had this one from the library for the past 3 or 4 months, which I think was about the last time I went to the library when it was open. And I didn't love this. It was good, but it was nothing overwhelmingly brilliant. Happy I read it though, so there's that. And then finally, I did a little bit more rereading. Reread 3 books this month, I think, in total. And I ended the month with Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, because one of my favourite books, birthday month. But also, like, if you don't read Frankenstein around the, like, Halloween time, who are you really? Like, just a question. So yes, this is my second time reading this. I hadn't read it since I studied it at uni in 2015, which would have been my second year of uni. I love this book. I'm obsessed with Mary Shelley. You may have seen that in my TBRs and different hauls and things like that, but I tend to buy a lot of books about Mary Shelley and that sort of, Frankenstein as well and that sort of thing. I'm already reading one of those, so you'll see that one in my November wrap up. But I just love this book, and I thought I had a really good grasp on this book and that I remembered like pretty much everything, but there was a whole section there that I just completely forgot happened. So yeah, but loved it. And so those are the ones that I read in October. I hope you're all doing super well, and I will see you all on Friday. I do not for the life of me remember what video I have planned, though I'm pretty sure I've already filmed it, so that's a little worrying. But we'll find out together. I will see you on Friday. Thanks for watching. Bye.